Welcome back on Peacemaker 360. I'm Christian Chito, your host, and today in the studio we have Shaban Varajab. Shaban Varajab is a student here at the Kroc Institute of International Peace Studies, and he's also originally from Kenya, where he's been working with Women Rural Peace Link.
Rural Women Peace Link.
Rural Women Peace Link, and he's also had some experience really in the peace building area around working with rural communities. Today we're happy to have you, Shaban, and thank you very much for responding to our invitation.
Thank you for hosting me, Chito. It's an honor.
Great. And to get us started, probably maybe the best question to start this conversation is, where did peace building start for you? Where? And maybe tell us, how did it begin for you? Where and how?
Okay, it's an interesting question. I even don't know where to start, but I want to say that ever since I was a child, I've been a peace builder. I thank God for my grandmom, who taught me how to be humble, how to appreciate other people, how to appreciate other cultures, and also paying attention to different problems in the society. But the pivot point was the year 2007, 2008, when Kenya experienced the post-election violence as a result of, the presidential election that was rigged, and we had these Kenyans who had turned out in large numbers, and they wanted a new president, and that was Raila Amolo Odinga. And I can't believe what happened. Chito, within a very short time, we had over 1,000 people dying. Within a very short time, we had over 360,000 families displaced. Within a very short time, we had properties worth millions of shillings brought down. And that impact in Kenya affected other countries in the neighborhood, including Uganda. Just to give you an example, this railway line connecting the port in Mombasa and Uganda was uprooted in one of the slums in Nairobi by young people. And it was terrible. But what I want to cite is that everything was along tribal line. We had Kalenjins and Luos attacking Kisis and Kikuyus. And one of the areas that was heavily affected, apart from Kisumu and Nairobi and Mombasa, was Rift Valley, where by then I was still in the university pursuing my bachelor's in education, arts, mathematics and economics. My expectation was to be a teacher, but what happened changed my mind, changed my interest. I couldn't believe that a human being can easily change and attack a neighbor who's been supplying salt, water and sugar, and people that were going to meetings together. Things just turned upside down. So that sent a strong message to me, and eventually I remember I was called by the Dean of Students in school and asked to go and join the Peace Unit Program Club, which was reaching out to other students who were in far areas away from the university and encouraging them to come to school. And we also organized different community activities like visiting the internally displaced persons camps, assisting humanitarian organizations to distribute relief food, and interacting with people who were affected. I couldn't believe the stories. We had women who said, okay, I just lost my daughter, my son left, I don't know where he is. We could see young kids dying. By then it was raining heavily and these tents were small. There are those who narrated stories of rape. Women were raped, young girls were abused. And what is even sad is that even the humanitarian workers who were supplying assistance to these victims took advantage of the situation to abuse young girls within the camp.
You've raised so many good and interesting subjects today to discuss, and I'm very happy to hear that, because at that time I was in Kenya at that time, and I was still actually doing my undergrad at Daystar University, so I remember the difficulty and pain that I saw many Kenyans, even including me, going through at that time. But Shaban, one of the things that I think is very important probably to look at today is looking at the post-election violence. I know there are many interventions that have been put in place to try to address some of these divides, politically and even programmatically, where international organizations and local initiatives have been put in place to either try to address the issues of injustices that occurred during that time. When you think of Kenya today, because I understand that there's going to be an election very soon, do you think that Kenya is ready to have a peaceful election? Do you think that Kenya is prepared to not repeat what happened in 2007?
Okay, Chito, that's a very interesting question. First of all, I have to acknowledge the fact that I respect and value the work done by John Paul Lederach when he tells us what is conflict transformation. And one point that I picked out from his class was that conflicts are constructive. They help us discover the right direction to take. They help us discover the issues. They help us strategize and start appreciating the partners around us and even across the borders. As you put it, honestly, a lot has happened ever since 2007, 2008 Postelection Violence. We've had so many actors coming up, designing peace education program, peace campaign, peace advocacy programs. They are reaching out to different government and non-government institutions, including churches, mosques, and traditional structures, just to make sure that everybody comes around the peace dialogue circles. I'm hopeful because we just had election in 2013. Yes, there was heightened tension that, okay, people are arming, there's a likelihood that there was going to be violence again, and, you know, there are malpractices because we still have institutions within the government that are not doing their job. For instance, the Electoral Board, Commission, and others that are playing different roles in this process. What I appreciated most was the patience that Kenyans had. I think it came to a point when they said, there's no need to go out and fight. No one wanted to see the bloodshed that we saw in the past. Nobody wanted to see people die innocently, despite the weaknesses that still exist. So moving forward, I want to say that there's hope, but there are issues that are not addressed yet. We still have weak government institutions that are not playing their role properly. Corruption is so deep in the country. And looking at social media today, you look at the way people converse and comment on different issues, you feel there's still that tension within the tribes. Today, political parties are aligning. What does that tell you? We have the Jubilee on one hand, and then you have the ODM group on the other. Right now, politicians from the West are thinking of moving to Jubilee, others are thinking of creating a new party, others, you know, it's just a mix, and it's sending different sentiments. You look at social media, it really gives you a mix of thoughts. But what I want to say is that I dream of a day when I'll see Kenyans pause down and say, we are tired of these tribal-oriented elections. We need to unite and look at the social issues that press us collectively. We need to look at our past and how Kenya was a stable nation. I always like referring to the first stanza of my national anthem. E Mungu nguvu yetu. Or let me do it in English. Oh God, our Lord of creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. Those words are very strong, and I would love to see a day when people say, no, we are guided by our national anthem. A national anthem which talks about the blessings that God has endowed in our nation, the beauty in it, and the diversity in it, and the need for unity, and the need to protect our borders, and making sure that there's plenty so that people live in peace.
Very powerful indeed, that national anthem. I like the words that you've shared because they speak a lot regarding unity and plentiness and security also on the land where everybody is supposed to feel free. And as you think about what you've just shared earlier, because we're talking about Kenya being prepared to not repeat the mistakes of the past, and every nation, of course, needs to learn from what has happened to be able to move forward. I'm happy because one of the things that you shared also is related to what John Paul Edrak has shared, he teaches in his class. You know, peace building is about going back to the people, understanding some of the issues that they feel. And if you think of yourself as a peace builder, Shaban, you've been through this program, now you're finishing your master's program in international peace studies, and you're thinking of moving forward, definitely. I'm wondering, where do you want to position yourself in as far as taking Kenya back to that very reality of its national anthem? Where do you think you can play a role?
Okay, it's a good one. Nobody can predict the future. But before I get to that, I want to be honest that I feel blessed to be part of this program. Honestly, I can't compare any program like Kroc Master's Peace Studies. It is just special because it has exposed me, first of all, to the world, just to get a clear picture how the world is and how social realities compare in different contexts. I didn't know that I'll meet people from Congo, Liberia, Afghanistan, Europe. We have wonderful Isaias from Colombia, and then the stories they bring in these circles and the discussions we have in class are just mind-blowing. There's so much I've learned. And then the exposure in Philippines, it was a special internship. You meet different cultures and understand that the world is interconnected. The struggles we have are just the same. But there's also hope because spaces like Kroc are preparing us to accept the challenges and re-strategize accordingly on how we can pull these actors and all these areas that are making, this messy landscape to be what it is. So I feel very lucky to be here, and honestly, the skills, the knowledge, the experience, the connections I've made means so much to me. So with regard to my future, I want to be honest to you, Chito, that I've come to realize that we always like acting in a rush. John Paul Ledrak tells you change does not come immediately. It has to be a long-term process. So these short-term policies for me are not working. It has come to a point I feel like these quick short-term policies and quick actions are not working. We have to start planning long-term. And when I talk about long-term, it's about the future. And when we talk about the future, it's about young people, the youth. So moving forward, I would love to concentrate on the youth because I believe they're the ones who are going to inherit the future. So some of the things I would love to see is governments and other policy-making bodies creating opportunities and social institutions that are going to provide training for young people so that they are prepared to respond to the challenges of the 21st century. I want to see centers that are meant to mentor young people, connect the old and the young so that they share the wisdom that exists. I want to see more intercultural exchange program between young people so that we appreciate the diversity that we have. And then lastly, I want to see a situation where young women are brought on board a lot, because many times we talk about these things, we forget women, yet they mean so much. They're the ones who suffer most when we have these conflicts. So if we are to move forward and realize the healing of the world, the change that we are looking for, then we need to pay attention on young people. So I would love to work with organization, policy-making bodies, think tanks that are shaping the lives and future of the young. Because they're the ones who are at the forefront when it comes to violence, and they're the ones who are affected most. The leaders we have owe us a lot. I always say they borrowed the world from the young people, and they have to give it back to us.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Shaban. We really appreciate your point regarding why it is very important for leaders today to give back the word to the young people, to give them back the power. And as we talk about young people, the UN recently also endorsed a resolution that actually supports youth initiatives that are working in conflict zones, which is actually another window of hope and window of opportunity for all these other organizations that are trying to promote the voice of young people. But as we conclude this discussion today, maybe a word of wisdom. What is one word of wisdom from your mother tongue or from Kenya that you'd like to share with our viewers today on peace building or anything that has to bring the people or the youth together? Is there any kind of proverb or riddle or anything?
Oh, I know you've heard this from me again and again, and I'm not going to go back to it. Honestly, you'll never step in the same water always. Water has to flow. And by that I mean change must come, whether we like it or not. Those who are clinging on leadership because of their selfish interests, those who are, who feel like dying in corruption, I think it will not work for them. We are strategizing.
You will never step
in the same water again.
Change will come. Thank you very much, Mr. Shaban, for having us today and for sharing your story. We've been blessed to hear you, and we wish you the best as you move forward. Thank you very much too for tuning in on Peacemaker 360. See you next time for another story.
Thank you for hosting it. Wow. I hope it was a good discussion.